Cha-cha. There it is. Ha ha! Perfect. There it goes. A little bit. Okay. There it goes. A little bit. Okay. Hey. Okay, still trying to get things kind of situated there. There it is. Ooh, all that magnificence. Getting things ready. Getting things ready. There it is. Okay, let's get this thing on the road, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. It's time for live working out again, and here we go. Get this thing all kinds of straight there. Might have something to do with it. All right. All right, now it's time to get this thing on the road, ladies and gentlemen. Woo! Time first for the 15-minute stretching, or however long it takes.
Greatness cannot be achieved without obsession. If you want to be the best, you must be obsessed with it. If you want to be the best anchor man, you must be. You have no choice. There's no other way around it. There's no easy way to do it. You have to be obsessed with that shit. Can't get away from it. Obsession. So I know a little bit about getting to the top. I also know a little bit about falling from the top. In 2005, I had open heart surgery. During the course of that surgery, I passed away, flatlined, died, whatever you want to call it, 3 times. I used to ask myself, I used to wonder to myself, I used to ask the good Lord, I used to pray, why did this have to happen to me? I felt like I was a pretty good person. For a year and a half after my surgery, 18 months. 6 months I had to spend in a wheelchair.
All right. Can't really do anything.
6 more months, I had to sleep sitting down on the floor with my back against the wall. Because if I laid down, I couldn't breathe. They had to cut my diaphragm during surgery. Whole lot of complications. When I sit there, I asked the good Lord, why? Why did I have to go through this? Why did you do this to me? And it got so bad. It was so bad. The pain was so bad. My hurt was so bad. So I used to say, Lord, if I'm gonna have to live like this for the rest of my life, then just take me. I went to one of the many doctor visits that I had at the VA hospital. The young doctor approached me, came to me and said, CT, I heard you used to be the champion of the world. I raised my head up, but I had a little inkling of pride still left. And I said, yes, I'm the one that you heard about. I'm the one that they told stories about. I'm CT first. He said, what in the happened to you? If that doctor was here today, I would thank him. Because his smile and comment is what made me determined to no longer ask God, why did he do this to me? From that day on, I wanted to prove that I was still CT first. I'm not down, I'm not done, I'm not through. It's over when I said it's over. So, my focus, my drive changed. And I no longer had to ask myself why. So I tell you today, I called, when I was preparing to be the world champion, when I wanted to be the champion, I called it my magnificent obsession. I was magnificently obsessed with being the best. I stand here today and I tell you, I have a new magnificent obsession. I'll tell you first of all, that everything I went through,
I knew a man who once said death smiles at us all. All a man can do is smile back.
You ain't gonna believe this. Well, you used to fit right here. I'd hold you up and say to your mother, this kid's gonna be the best kid in the world. This kid's gonna be somebody better than anybody ever knew.
Mind is everything. If you don't believe you can do something, then you can't. If you believe that your father was a bum and he left you, or your mother wasn't any good, if you believe that your upbringing was substandard, and therefore you have to walk around as a refugee from that crisis situation for the rest of your life, forever bearing the burden of that experience, then that will be your life. It's like you have to save your own life. Nobody's gonna be able to save it for you. So we have to do what we have to do, no matter what it is.
I tell you something. Well, if he wasn't here, I probably wouldn't be alive today. The fact that you're here and doing as well as you're doing gives me what do you call it, motivation, huh? To stay alive. Because I think that people die sometimes when they don't want to live no more.
Nature's smarter than people think.
And nature is smarter than people think. Little by little, we lose our friends, we lose everything. We keep losing and losing till we say, you know, what the hell am I doing around here for? I got no reason to go on. But with the cure, I got a reason to go on. And I'm going to stay alive. And I will watch and never. And I'll never leave you until that happens. Because when I leave you, you'll not only know how to fight, you'll be able to take care of yourself outside the ring. Is that okay? Okay?
Life is a mystery. Don't waste time trying to figure it out.
Humor.
Keep a sense of humor, especially about yourself. That is a strength in the all measure.
Change.
Nothing stays the same.
There will never be a point in your life where it's the right time to do a
perfect situation.
So a lot of people become comfortable. They stop growing. They stop wanting anything. They become satisfied. People getting ready to go to jobs that they don't like. Jobs that are making them sick. You see, when you're not pursuing your goal, you are literally committing spiritual suicide. When you have some goal out here that you're stretching for and reaching for that takes you out of your comfort zone, you'll find out some talents and abilities you have that you didn't know you had. When the message of misery visits you, what are you going to do? What will keep you in the game?
There are things that you think you'll never need to know, that you may only need to know one time in your life, but that could save your life because you had that knowledge.
Woo! If you attempt to do something beyond that which you've already mastered, you will never grow. What is it that you looked at some point in time and you decided that you couldn't do it? That you talked yourself out of it?
You're waiting on your next door neighbor to make it happen for you. It may not happen. If you're waiting on your mother or your father, they may be so ancient in their thinking that they don't understand this opportunity that you have. And if you're waiting on them, it may never get done. You don't beg average people to be phenomenal. You don't beg good people to be phenomenal. You just are phenomenal and you will attract phenomenal.
What reason can you remember that you can call on, that you can reach on, that can make you get back up? Find that reason.
If you're not where you are, if you're not where you want to be, if you don't have what you want to have, if you're not where you think you should be at this particular place, it has nothing to do with the system, but it has everything to do with the fact that you're not making the sacrifice. I want you to make that dream become a reality, because if you don't, you will be working for somebody else to make their dreams become a reality.
It's live TV now.
It's against you. I don't believe in you no more.
Woo, think you know what live than that.
I only feel it, particularly people that you're doing it for. Most people take their greatness, take their ideas to the graveyard with them.
Listen to me. If it was easy, everybody would do it. There are people right now who don't want to work. There are people who hate their jobs. They keep getting up to do it.
I'm gonna put this back in the fridge. I don't need this.
The wealthiest place on the planet is the graveyard. Because in the graveyard we will find inventions that we never ever were exposed to. Ideas, dreams that never became reality. Hopes and aspirations that were never acted upon.
The question is, what do you do with time? What drives you? Greatness is a lot of small things done well. Day after day, workout after workout, obedience after obedience, day after day.
When things don't work out for you, when things happen that you could not anticipate, what are the reasons that you can think of that can keep you strong?
You will never ever be successful until you turn your pain into greatness, until you allow your pain to push you from where you are.
Good morning, everybody. Before I get on here, start doing my workout, I'm sure everybody, all my friends on Facebook by now have found out, they've informed me, they've made sure that I found out that that handsome Harley Race passed away yesterday, a little after noon yesterday. And Harley Race, of course, was a great, great wrestler. I mean, to say that would be an understatement. The man epitomized what it was to be the world champion. No matter what acronyms are on the front door of the company, he carried himself the same way he did when he was 8-time world champion, all the way down to when he was the king of wrestling, all the way down to when he managed world champions and beyond. The man is survived by family. And I guess the only silver lining that's in this dark gray cloud of loss that we go through with Mr. Harley Leland Race is that his wife preceded him in death, and at this moment in time, as far as we know, they're having a glorious reunion right now. BJ and Harley are once again back together again, and Harley's up there with some of the greatest foes that he ever went up against. Like Gene Kiniski, he's up there, Luthez, Jack Briscoe, and some of the greatest battles potentially could be going on. I don't think there's a whole lot of fighting and battling going on in heaven, don't get me wrong, but Harley is there with those superb athletes that preceded him. So we're going to give just a moment of silence for Harley Race, and you can meditate on it, pray about it, send out positive thoughts, however you worship, however you service the higher being, however you classify it. So we're going to give Harley Race a moment of silence so that way we can honor this man. Rest in peace, Harley. All right. Now, in honor of Harley Race, while I'm doing just a little light shadow boxing to get the sweat going before we get into the glove shadow boxing, Harley Race never really used a lot of entrance music like everybody else. I mean, there was the Freebirds. Many people say that they originated the entrance music. The Von Erichs used it, and I'm going to use local wrestling as the vernacular. The Von Erichs used whatever ZZ Top music, or for instance, Kevin used Stranglehold by Ted Nugent, and Kerry used a song by Rush. And as a group, the Von Erichs used LaGrange by ZZ Top, and of course the Freebirds, George on My Mind by Willie Nelson, and then of course in '84, Michael Hayes recorded his own Bad Street USA. And then of course, all the other entrance music, so on and so forth, no matter where you are, Hulk Hogan, Real American, Eye the Tiger, you know, the Rock and Roll Express. I think even Ricky Morton recorded his own entrance song back in '88, the height of their popularity. I've got that song on a playlist somewhere, I'm sure. Ricky Morton, stick to your day job, brother. That's all I can tell you. No disrespect. I can't carry a tune if it had a handle on it, but I think Ricky Morton couldn't carry one if he had 12 people helping him. But anyway, Harley Race never really used too much of an entrance song, other than when he was the king in the WWF. Of course, I think he used whatever, I don't know what the name of the song there was. But Harley did, when he traveled to Japan, when he was very revered there by all the wrestling fans and wrestlers, make no mistake about that, because I think they knew that Harley Race was not a guy that was going to put up with a lot of BS, with a lot of shenanigans. And a lot of the times when other NWA champions like a Ric Flair would go to Japan, the NWA would send Harley Race with Ric Flair, so that way there were no shenanigans. Because a lot of these Japanese wrestlers in the heyday, and I'm talking about veterans like Shiruda and Kabuki would get a couple of title shots over there, and who else was there? There was other Japanese wrestlers over there that were getting title shots. But they were in fear that one of these Japanese wrestlers were going to shoot on the world champion. And I think Ric Flair was, I'm sure, very well educated about that possibility. And even so, he would go over with somebody that could help him, that was a tough guy outside the ring. So a lot of the times, the NWA champion, if it wasn't Harley Race, would either take Harley or Dick Slater or somebody that was known to be very quick-tempered if nonsense was amiss, if you know what I mean. But nevertheless, Harley used a song called Galaxy Express. And I say Harley used it. Most of the NWA champions, him, Baba, I think, used it. And a lot of times when Baba wasn't the world champion, he used the theme from All Japan Pro Wrestling. It was his company, after all. And Ric Flair used it. And I believe when Kerry went over there and fought Shiruda and Flair, I believe that he used it as well. I think it was just the common, I like to refer to it as the NWA Championship thing. And no other title in the history of wrestling anywhere around the world has its own entrance theme. And I say Harley used it. only because most of the time when he was in Japan, he was the world's heavyweight champion or about to regain it from Baba, because that's the only guy he lost it to in Japan. So while I'm stretching out, I'm going to do about 2 or 3 rounds of just kind of light shadow boxing just to get the shoulders unwound, and we're going to play that song. I've got that in multiple versions, so let me get it going. So let's get this little thing here going, ladies and gentlemen. You don't want to go down. Okay, here's one that's good. All right, let's get back to the music. Yeah, the music. Here we go. All right. Got a little bit of everything on here. So let's see here what we got. What we got. Ta 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 ta. Jilly jig jig jan jan jan. Okay. There it is. this yet. Let's put these on. I might have a better punching area. There we go. Live TV, remember? Woo! So my supplements give me gas because they got fiber in them. That's all right. Snap in the face. I like it. Be our target right there. Not gonna hit it. hit it anyway. style then. Woo! All right then, we're gonna take a short little breather. You can see it's the red ball, follow the bouncing red ball. It's like in those old cartoons. All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, now it's time for the real shadow boxing. All right. Ba-dum-bum. All right. Now we're gonna get shadow boxing going on here. Woo, yeah. Let's turn this down a minute. Oh, live TV now. There it goes. Hallelujah. Woo. Everyone loves their own aroma. Except for me. Anyways, live TV now. Live training. You never heard, saw, or smell Ali pass gas on training, so it's good to release it sometime. A lot of the time the bloating is from gas that has not been released. I digress. All right. As this song plays on, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna give you a little bit of my memories of watching Harley race. I think a lot of my friends know that Harley Race is one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. Growing up, he was the world's heavyweight champion. He was one of the few during my lifetime that would come through the Dallas-Fort Worth area and defend against the Von Erichs. So a lot of the times, he either had Jack Briscoe as the world champion. In most places, he was a crowd favorite. I'm not going to use insider terms in respect of pro wrestling because, you know, even though I've been involved with it for all my life, I've done a few announcing jobs for Ken Taylor when he ran NWA Southwest and for the Central States Territory. Not the original with Bob Geigel and Harley Race, but the most recent one. And I did some announcing for them. And so, anyway, I am not going to use terms that I have not earned to be able to use. So, anyways, ladies and gentlemen, like I was saying, most of the time, whenever the NWA champion would come through the area, he always had to be a bad guy. Always had to be a bad guy. So that way, the hometown favorites, the Von Erichs, could draw a crowd. And you know, I'm gonna draw a crowd, and I think, me personally, I would have paid to see it because primarily, anytime the NWA World Heavyweight Champion came to town, I wanted to watch. And that was primarily one of the few times that I really wanted to go when I was a kid growing up, was when the World Heavyweight Champion did come to town. And like I said, growing up, the majority of the time it was Handsome Harley Race. Then, of course, Ric Flair came to town during the last few years that World Class Championship Wrestling was a member of the National Wrestling Alliance. So anyway, I can remember the first time that I ever saw Harley Race. Harley Race live in person. It was him against Kevin Von Erich at Will Rogers Coliseum. I think it might have been one of the first NWA World title matches at Will Rogers after they had moved from Northside Coliseum, which is what it was called, and now affectionately it's called Cowtown Coliseum because it's in the stockyards. Surprised they didn't call it the Stockyard Coliseum, but I digress. So anyway, it was Kevin and Harley, because Kevin obviously during this time was, I believe he was American Heavyweight Champion here, and may have either been Missouri heavyweight champion or at least a former champion at this point, because Kevin did own it. He did win the Missouri State title, I think, once from Harley, and then lost it to Ken Patera. But I digress. So anyway, it was Harley and Kevin, and of course, Harley and Kevin went at it, and Kevin got so close to winning it, and obviously Harley did something to keep it, count out, disqualification, draw, whatever it was. And so Harley went on about his business as the world's heavyweight champion, and Kevin about his business as whatever he was doing. So anyway, ever since then, when I saw Harley race for the first time, I not only loved what I was watching, Harley race, his toughness, his gruffness, his meanness, but I don't think, there was a lot of people, and I saw this once, and I know Bailey Parsons, Iceman King Parsons, in the ring, had challenged Harley Race for the world's title in Dallas. And I was watching it because, again, Harley Race was the champ. And there were a few fans that came to the ringside area. And of course, on one side you had Iceman, and they were all mobbing him because he had David Von Erich in his corner. And they were mobbing David, they were mobbing Iceman, wanting autographs. And that's what I always liked about world-class wrestling. They let the fans get up close and personal with the wrestlers. And I remember at Will Rogers Coliseum, after the matches, you could go down to the ring, slap on it. Man, that's hard stuff, man. I thought there was a trampoline under there. You know what I mean? But you could see all kind of writings on the edge of the ring apron, like, I love Chris Adams, I love Kerry Von Erich, I hate the Freebirds, Ric Flair's a you know what, all this other kind of stuff. And to a kid, I mean, the ring probably came up to my neck, the mat part that they actually wrestled on, came up to about my chin. And again, I was young. I mean, I was still a teenager the last time I really saw Ric Flair and went continuously to the Will Rogers to see wrestling matches. But anyway, when Iceman went up against Harley Race for the world's title, there was a lot of people on this side where the good guys were, Iceman and David Von Erich, and there was maybe a couple of fans that tried to come up to the ring to get an autograph from Harley Race. And this is what I respect about Harley Race. Harley knew what paid his paycheck. It was the fans. So he could talk noise about him. And a lot of the times, if you watch and listen to Harley Race's interviews, he don't talk smack about the fans. He don't talk crap about them. He doesn't say, I hate these people. They need to shut up, whatever. Harley always would talk business about the guy he was going against. He said, I'm going to destroy this guy or that guy. Never, I hate fans. So what I really respected about Harley Race is during that match, and if you look on it, and it's on YouTube, I'm sure, or on Bailey Parsons' YouTube as a link to the video, because again, I don't know how many shots Iceman got at the World's Heavyweight title before he got to World Class. He obviously was Mid-Atlantic Tag Team Champion with Pork Chop Cash for Crockett. I believe he worked in California. That's where he met Chris Adams. And I believe he also worked in Portland as well. And so, anywho, the fans came up to Harley Race, the few that did, and Harley simply put his hand up, shook his head. He didn't try to build up his bad guy persona by saying, get away from me, get away, all that jazz. He just politely did that. And, the local bad guys like the Freebirds and whoever else, they would make a big commotion about it to build up their heel status. Because again, the Von Erichs and the Freebirds were the box office attraction. Harley would come in, and that wasn't his job to talk crap about the crowd. His was to build up the challenger to be bigger than he was before Harley got there and build up to a rematch later on down the line. But that's what I always respected about Harley Race. He respected the wrestling fans. He respected guys like me that watched Harley Race. And Harley Race was the main reason why I so much loved that style of NWA belt that he always had, the 10 pounds of gold, the Dome Globe belt. And I know Ric Flair retired with it and gave it to Vince or sold it to Vince. in the WWF, but the one guy that I associate that belt with more than anybody else, and I know there was other guys that held it. Jack Briscoe was the first to win it. There was Terry Funk, there was Baba, there was Rich, there was Ray, Dusty Rhodes, there was Kerry Von Erich, Ric Flair, of course, Tommy Rich. But the one guy that every time I saw Harley race, I knew that he was going to have a championship belt either in his hands or around his waist. Either Missouri title, the PWF title, the United National title in Japan, those titles, or that NWA World's Heavyweight title. And Harley was the main reason why I just absolutely love the Dome Globe 10 pounds of gold NWA World's Heavyweight title. The big gold belt, I remember watching Battle of the Belts, I think it was Battle of the Belts 3. And early in its existence, KDFW was the local Fox affiliate, Channel 33. Now it's WB or whatever it is here locally. But they had gotten the rights to be able to show here in the Dallas-Fort Worth market Battle of the Belts 3 from the Eddie Graham Sports Complex. Well, Barry Windham had just, I think, maybe a few months prior to this, came back from the World Wrestling Federation. And came back, and obviously climbed up into the ranks to get a world title match with Ric Flair. Well, I think this is either the day that it got debuted or the day after or whatever, but the big gold belt makes its first worldwide appearance on that show when Buddy Colt interviews Ric Flair in the dressing room, and I'm all prepared to see that Dome Globe belt. Said, all right, another chance to see the 10 pounds of gold, the NWA World Heavyweight belt. And Ric Flair walks out there with this belt. I said, wait just a minute, that's not the NWA title. What's he got there? What is that, the AWA title? Because all you could see was the tip of it, and you know how the old inmate AWA belt looked. It had that thing, and it would, you know, you've seen it before. And to me, it looked like the inmate AWA belt, which on that show, no, that was the first one. But anyway, I digress. But anyway, Ric Flair shows the world, he said, this is a new belt, it's $10,000 or $45,000 or whatever it was, gold, silver, diamonds, all this kind of stuff. I said, wait just a minute. Because I used to make belts out of cardboard, just like any other big-time wrestling fan. And so I've got my copy, my homemade version of it, the NWA belt, in my hands, and I'm ready to watch Barry Windham and Ric Flair go after the 10 pounds of gold and hear Gordon Soley say, oh, this championship belt costs $10,000. It's the ultimate prize in wrestling. And then Ric Flair comes out with this, whatever this is, this giant big rodeo belt, buckle looking belt. And so I was upset. My mom and dad, and what are you screaming about? I said, Ric Flair's got this goofy looking belt. That's not the world heavyweight belt. I don't know what he's got. They call him still the NWA champion, but that ain't the belt that the champions always had. So anyway, but anyway, the NWA belt, that title, the Dome Globe belt has always been my favorite, and it's all due to Harley Race, always being the liking Harley Race so much. Hello. Okay. Let's see here if it's got sound on it. Hello, hello. Hello. For whatever reason, I can't get this thing to doing it, so we'll just have to stop that. Stop. Yep. Cancel it.